And that, Colin, I think you were going to do the opening for us this morning.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Just to start with this, I've got a quote from Vince Lombardi. Individual commitment to a group effort. That is what makes a team work, company work, society work, and civilization work. It's the team thing that's get through. But I've just got probably a small note for the incoming council, whoever it may be. As a council, I think we need to cut through the erratic bullshit and discuss and focus on the core council infrastructure, eroding, rubbish and three waters and development, and get the decision making back around this table. Thank you. That's all.
No, cool. Thanks, Colin. Ready, have a public forum. There's none that I'm aware of. No, thank you. Apologies. We have an apology from the Chief Executive this morning, who unfortunately has the dreaded stomach bug that's going around at the moment, so I'm pleased he's not here. No other apologies? They're all here. Can I have somebody move the apologies? Moved Councillor Pankhurst, seconded Councillor Collins. Put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against carried. Visitors, none that I'm aware of.
At 11:30 we've got Quotable coming in.
Oh, of course, yes, sorry. 11:30, CD coming in to run through their report. Conflicts of interest. Council reminder, if they have any pecuniary interest on any item on the agenda, they must declare this interest and refrain from discussing or voting on the item and are advised to withdraw from the meeting table. Does anybody have any conflicts in relation to anything on the agenda today? No? Thank you. Identification of major or minor items. There's none that have been brought to my attention.
No.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7.1 on page 7. The minutes of the council meeting held on 19th of August 2025. I'll take that as read. Is there any alterations, corrections or discussion? It's not going to have somebody move the minutes. Moved Councillor McAwee, seconded Councillor Stevens. Put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against carried. Thank you for that. Moving on to Mayor's report. Obviously it's all there. We've got a couple of things I just wanted to highlight. Was I had a really good meeting with the medical students from Otago University, and it was actually quite strange because they're all male this time, and that bunch of young guys and that sort of thing, and they're very taken with the district and that sort of thing. And they were actually saying that the latest intake, I think 30% are looking to go into GP, and that, which I thought was quite high. And I tried to convince them that Waimate would be a fantastic place to have a young doctor, and that. So we'll see how that plays out. But it was really nice to catch up with them. And probably the only other thing I wanted to mention was probably a bit of disappointment at the Environment Category meeting that was held at Glenavy, and that I don't believe, well, this is just my take, but I don't really think that they discussed the issue that we were there for. It was more about what we were doing in the water spaces as much as, you know, what's the country going to do when it comes to this nitrate. It was interesting to read in the media just the other day that 50% of the private wells in the Selwyn district have tested above the MAP. So, you know, this is obviously a looming issue for not just us, but for the country. So, yeah, interesting. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. If not, I'm happy to move my report. I have a seconder. Seconder Councillor Stevens. Put the motion. All in favour say aye. Aye. Against carried. Moving on to the Deputy Mayor's report on page 21. Sharon.
Firstly, just a slight correction there on the second one. At the meeting, it should say meeting with Councillor Small and Russell Wallace regarding the Heavyfield development update. That's an interesting project that Russell has been working on. Where he goes with that next, we're not entirely sure, but he wanted to talk with us about what potentially council could be involved with and how. So it's an interesting one to watch, and good luck to Russell with that, and we'll see where that goes to for the next step. Some of these things are just the usual business that I get about too, so I won't go into those. Did want to say the meeting at the Grey Power that Byrne Summerfield spoke on behalf of and about Tom was very nice. You know, I think a few of the stories he reiterated at Tom's funeral, but certainly, I mean, we all knew what Tom's personality were like, but some of the interesting endeavours himself and Byrne had been up to were very entertaining to hear about, as well as his other service to Grey Power further in the national body, etc. It was very good. So it was nice that was put on through Grey Power and Waimate. Just going through if there's anything else. Most of these things, a lot of you were at. Replacing. I would reiterate the comments regarding the Environment Canterbury meeting at Glenavy. It was 2.5 hours of, to be honest, not telling the community much, if I'm telling the truth, which was the feedback that came back from a number of community members afterwards. They said, what was I supposed to take from that? And I wasn't entirely sure what to tell them, because other than the update from Stuart and Dan, our own team, around what Waimate Council was doing, it didn't feel like there was anything additional added or any suggestions given.
I just had a question. We weren't involved with that, facilitating that meeting at all. There was no discussion. They didn't come to us with any.
No, absolutely not. It was their meeting. It was supposed to be them explaining to the community and talking about next steps and getting feedback from the community on their side of the equation, which is the land use, etc., and what led to the nitrate issue. We obviously got approached, I think, very last minute to say they were going to update on what was happening with the potable water, and we said, well, no, that's not appropriate. That's our council staff who've done that hard work and need to talk to that to make sure it's accurate. So that's what happened. But no, the meeting they didn't know it was on until I saw it on Facebook, to be honest. So again, a bit of poor communication there.
Just a question for you, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
Was it a good turnout?
About 50.
It was about 50 there. I thought there may have been more.
Yes.
But I think there was a bit of a muck up with
I
the.
think if they'd advertised it better as
Yes.
for the Glenavy nitrate issue, they might have got more. They advertised it as WIO issue, so people
Yeah.
didn't really know what what it was about. Was it the river? Was it?
Yeah,
And
and
again,
I think it was it came across that it was sort of targeted at the farming community rather than the community in general. And I think we would have got I think they would have got a lot more of the general public there had they perhaps advertised it slightly differently. But yeah.
And again, I think if they'd communicated with us and or Lisa and or some people from Glenavy community, they could have done a better job of that. It was a bit disappointing, especially when there was something like 12 people from ECAN that came down to that meeting. You know, about eight staff and 4 from the governance team. Could have been far more effective. Everything else I think is pretty standard. I will give, I do want to say well done to Linda McCallum-Jackson and her husband and that out at St Andrews. There might have only been a couple of them turn up outside the police station, but they wanted to make their point. They wanted to do something that they felt was, tangible and be there on the highway. They had some terrific points to raise, and they raised those with media when they came along as well, which I just thought terrific effort that they were sitting there at the front on their chairs and just wanting to give a nod to potentially the loss of policing at St Andrews. So good on Linda.
Yep.
I thought that was really well done.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm interested in the meeting with Russell.
Yes.
So has there been communication with Lister and their experiences and where they're going?
Yes. So I don't know who Russell had talked with Lister, but he was aware of what was going on there. And I believe he has put out to a number of stakeholders when he held a public meeting at night not long ago. So he's talked through, he's presented at Rotary and a number of others. So he's working his way around at the moment, just information gathering. So there's no formal steps or processes yet. It was more about seeing who was doing what, who might be interested in supporting. Was this even something we needed? Yeah, a range of things. So I know he when he talked to me, he had quite an idea of what Lister was up to. Where he got that from, I'm not sure.
It is quite separate from Lister.
I understand it's separate. Yeah, I just would hate to think that you're starting to compete for some, on the same level. So I know that Lister have changed their model,
Yes.
it became, bad timing politically and the market. But they've changed that model to go into smaller models.
Yeah, I think it's quite a different concept though. If you have a look, I don't know if you've had a look on Happy Field's website. So if you go on, it's
Seniors
you
flatting.
compared it to basically seniors flatting. So it's there's not the medical services provided. There's not all those things. It's sort of that in between stage of being still in a big home or renting somewhere and not being able to afford it, and going into some sort of assisted living and or residential community. So it's sort of that in between market. So Russell, just off his own bat, has decided to sort of champion that project and see where it goes for now, which I think is terrific. So just wanted an update with where he was at, and Lisa was interested as well, so we thought we'll meet with him and see, give him some feedback.
The
And
meetings, could we? So we just
Thank you for that. One other one, just in regards to the equestrian meeting.
Yes.
What was the meet and gravy?
Oh right, yes. I could say I met with Julie D, who obviously had been into council to talk about a range of things. She got in touch to say, could I have a chat with her about ways of approaching council and what things we maybe can and can't help with, and what weren't our business, and a range of other things. So I met with Julie. We had a really good meeting. Talked through a range of ideas around for the likes of getting the equestrian community together first and getting a good understanding themselves of what they would like to achieve, setting their own goals, a range of different things. So, and I see she's moved on from that, and she has put out some feelers to try and make some of that stuff happen. So no, it was a really good meeting, and we talked through things that council just can't do, or we may hold them up if we try and get involved, and things where we can support them. So, I think it was a really good meeting. Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions on anything?
Happy to move your report.
Yes, thank you.
Move councillor Kane, I'm happy to second it. Put the motion all in favour, say aye. Aye. It's carried. We've gone to the councillor's report on page 23. Again, if you've been to anything you want to highlight, now's your opportunity. Or if there's any questions. If there's not, somebody move the councillor's report. Move councillor Stevens, second to councillor Kane. Put the motion all in favour, say aye. Aye. It's carried. Moving on to the Chief Executive's report. Unfortunately, Stuart's not here, and I don't know whether Dylan's going to be able to answer many of the questions, if there is any.
Not from his experience, no.
I was going to say, you'll have plenty of opinion on the first
Certain
one.
ones, yes.
So I'm happy to move that the Chief Executive's report's accepted. Seconded councillor Small. Put the motion all in favour, say aye. Against, carried. Moving on to the council's actions report on page 27. Again, I'll take it as read if there's any questions.
Just regarding the fence appliances, do you want to come back with anything further on that?
No.
I think we just have to go politically on it because it's been far too long.
Yep.
So if we can approach it from a political standpoint now, from a governance level, ask for a please explain.
I'll talk to Miles and find out what's happening about that one.
Sure.
No other questions? Somebody move the council's action report. Move councillor Bede, second to councillor Stevens. Put the motion all in favour, say aye. Aye. Against, carries. Moving on to the human resources report on page 29. Good morning, Rachel.
Morena, Mr. Mayor, elected members.
morning.
I did a bit more of a comprehensive report as requested previously. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Rachel? I take it it's the same two people up the lakes as last year?
There's 3 people at the lakes.
3 people, yep, that's good. Good great feedback about the job they did last year up there, so that's excellent.
So just regarding number 7, so recruitment will be undertaken shortly for the aquatics team, but no further information has been provided. What are we waiting on? Is there a hold up with regarding the aquatics team, or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, excuse my voice. I'm still recovering from influenza. It's quite a comprehensive piece of work, and there's a lot of work involved for HR, and we have to do a plethora of documents related to it. So we have to wait to get that information from the Parks and Reserves manager before, you know, like for us to be able to assess it and translate that into recruitment and contracts and things like that.
So does that mean we will hit our opening timeframe if we haven't got that underway yet?
I'm hoping we'll still make the opening period, but time is getting tight, but I understand that information has been further requested.
So I suppose I'll leave that with Dylan for a note to maybe chase that one up, Dylan. I don't know where.
Yeah, I hate to see
Because
us.
I'd hate to see us delayed in opening the
Delay.
portal because we only have such a short period anyway that.
Yeah.
And we've advertised when we're opening, so I'm just concerned that if we're not
Up and
on
running.
track, we may not open on time, which would not be ideal. Thank you for putting in where it's a new or existing position and reutilisation of budget. That is something I assume Stuart will explain to us further at some stage around. I don't suppose we're going to put you on the hot seat for that one, Dylan. Around when we say reutilisation, does that mean there's a position that is not
Utilised.
being re-recruited, or because I appreciate that it's, you know, there's a number there that talk about a reutilisation of existing budget. But existing budget from where?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I can speak to those. So, for example, in the community and strategy area, we've often, for example, in the library, had a couple of full-time positions and lots of little part-time or casual roles, so filling gaps and things like that. So a business case was done for looking at how to improve the services and tightening up on that and being a bit more specific. So when it says it's a reutilisation of existing budget, there's no increase in budget, it was tidying up all the different positions and making it clearer.
Okay, and that's the case for anywhere where you've stated that?
Through you,
The
Mr. Mayor.
reworked, etc.
For the cleaning team supervisor, I know that one looks a little bit confusing because it's a new position, but it's also a reutilisation of some existing budget. So we looked at the structure of the cleaning team, and this is for the facilities that we have. So not, you know, campgrounds and things that fall under Parks and Reserves, but this is more the corporate services, so cleaning this building, the event centre, down at Gorge Road, the Parks and Reserves yard, and also the water yard as well, and the public toilet cleaning. So we did a really good look at that because we've been having to use contractors on weekends, which are not cheap. So we did a big change proposal and have brought everything in-house. So that necessitated a bit of a change for the structure of the team. So that hasn't been implemented yet, but we're in the process of going through that. But it should see better service delivery for council as a whole.
I suppose that's where, and that's not something I'm going to ask you directly to do, but we'll see about that could be expanded within your report because that's a lot more useful information. But yeah, that'll be something if you want to note that to talk with Stuart about how we expand that information to there. Otherwise, I'll be asking you the same question every time.
No? Any other questions for Rachel? If there's not, perhaps somebody move her report's accepted.
So moved.
We have Councillor Collins, seconded Councillor Kane, put the motion all in favour, say aye. Aye. It's carried. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
Moving on to the Audit and Risk Committee Chair's report. And that, I'll take it as read. On that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I think most of us were there for that first Audit and Risk Committee under the new chair.
I'll just make the comment that it was refreshing to have a new set of eyes come in.
Yep.
And be looking at everything and be questioning everybody. That's what we wanted when we recruited this time, as someone to challenge all of us, and I think that is going to be very beneficial after the elections and moving forward, including the fact that he's already talking about setting elected members' homework, and I think that's terrific. So it was good.
Yeah, no, it was good, and obviously the conversations that we had with him around getting value for money out of the positions he's taken on board, and I look forward to the council utilising his services the best they can over the coming years.
That's good.
So if no one's got any questions, I'm happy to move the report. Have a seconder. Seconder, Councillor Pankhurst. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you for that. Moving on to the LGFA annual report. Fairly straightforward. Any questions that anybody wants to raise?
Say, for the benefit of members in the room, although Tina's not here to explain it very succinctly, I still see there's a bit of a misunderstanding around nationwide, around LGFA and our borrowing from them and what secures that funding, but I think we need to maybe put out some comms from council explaining how that happens, that your houses are not being used as collateral against that borrowing, etc., because it is stressing people out, and
There's been quite a bit of misinformation out in the public arena.
but again, we, the sector, are our own worst enemies because we haven't explained it either. So if we could look at popping something out, Dylan, because I see it's just popped up again in the last week or so around the country, not necessarily in Waimate, but around the country, of people quite rightly stressed, thinking that their houses are up as collateral when that's not the case. So if we could explain that, please.
Yeah. No other questions? Can somebody move the reports accepted? Councillor Stevens, second Councillor Kane. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Moving on to agenda item 16.2 on page 36, which is the discharge of the Canterbury Water Management Strategy Zone Committees. Again, I'll take it as read. I guess the only thing I would like to say here is just a big thank you to everybody that's been on those zone committees, and that I think initially it was a fantastic idea. It sort of fell into a bit of a black hole at one stage when the zippers were all done and that sort of thing, and it sort of, I think, sort of not lost its way, but lost its sort of potential and that sort of thing. So now we have this recommendation of these advisory groups, and we'll see how that plays out. And that, so I'm happy to move recommendations 1 and 2.
Just before I second that, I've said it all before in here, so you all know how angry I am about how the community and that have been treated around these zone committees, so I won't reiterate that again, but I am still very angry about it. I am not in favour at all of us pursuing these local leadership groups at the moment. I think it's just another layer that we do not need, and I think whoever is in council afterwards after the elections needs to seriously think about whether we support that or not. But I reiterate, I very much thank people who have been involved with zones, because they put their time and effort and heart into it and didn't get the support they needed.
Only question I've got is, if we don't support them, will they just get rammed through over our head and we get no say? Are we better off
No say anyway.
having some input and trying to change the makeup or the terms of reference?
So on that note, nothing can be established without each council sign off, and I know a couple of other councils are quite concerned about how it's trying to be divided now as well, because it separates areas that were commonly working together. A number of the councils are already questioning as well the fact that community has been taken away as one of the key stakeholders, which is not acceptable. And so this is all coming from the mayoral forum at the moment. It's yet to go past each council, and I don't know how much response they're going to get from each council. I'm hoping that they all look at it as well and go, this money is better utilised for on the ground projects, not another layer. Particularly, the whole point of zones was to bring your community members in that are part of the catchment groups and that, and so to leave them out and say each committee can decide if you want to have community members or not, you're almost recreating a zone committee by default, but through a backdoor way. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. So it'll be interesting when it comes to each council to make a formal decision. but I think they will have pushback, and we've pushed back at the Mayoral Forum going, just stop, especially for now in an election period, just stop and let things settle, let new ones come in, learn about it, and then decide where you want to go with it.
I think there's still
ridiculous.
a lot of work to be done on this item, both with us and with Environment Canterbury as well. And it's something that will have to be addressed after the election when there's new people around the table. But we've certainly made our views very clear, and that even in the likes of those overlapping districts where we had representation on no top, that's been taken away.
Well, the catchment group they'd move us to, moving from 10 zones to 8, our area would cover right up to the top of the Waitaki Lakes and everywhere. It's a massive zone based around the Waitaki River. How do you get anyone to have any say on that, or even the cost of bringing everyone together, to have no funding and no actual say at the end of the day? It's just going to be another talk fest.
I was looking at that too, because I mean the Waitaki's quite different from the lowland, the ones that come off the east side of the Hunters. You've got very similar issues, but completely different to the Waitaki.
Yeah.
So for you, Mr. Mayor, should we not be looking at the independent committees like the Hacker Sustainability Collective?
Well, that's what we've been saying.
So that's where we need to head.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying, is we're better off supporting those catchment groups.
Exactly.
And any funding going directly to them to do projects.
And that's not council driven at all.
No, and that's why I said there's still a lot of work to be done in this area to come up with a suitable model that
well, we're not.
I've spoken to quite a few people that are.
They're getting somewhere out there.
Yes, yeah.
We're not getting anywhere down here.
Yeah. So,
I was just going to say, instead of accepting both recommendations, I kind of think that we can accept their report. But number two, I believe that as council, we're going to come up with a protest about what the process is, that we do not approve the discharge of the council. We just show our opposition and to their plan until it's made much more clearer, and until the community is really involved with it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as nice as that sounds, unfortunately the committees have already been disbanded and there's a budgetary implication. So we will not have to still be providing money to ECAN when those committees aren't. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And a letter to that effect is appropriate, but as far as approving the discharge, they've already been disbanded. So we don't want to continue paying people who aren't doing anything. So
that's why I said there's still a lot of work to do in this area, John, and we'll have our opportunity. We will have our opportunity to clearly articulate our views when the new council's sitting around the table.
So it will be that the second one will be that council approves the discharge rather than considers. I'm happy to second that. We're not happy, but I'll second that. Thank you.
Alright, so it's been moved and seconded. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Against, carried. Moving on to agenda item 16.3 on page 42, which is the dog control annual report.
Morning, Mr. Mayor. Morning, councillors. I'll speak from here rather than move around to this other spotlight. This report, you get it every year. It's a bunch of figures that I can talk to if there are any questions, but it's basically the precursor to publicly notifying the data before you.
That's that.
Just a question to you, Mr. Mayor. We register the menacing dogs every year, Bill and obviously.
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have to register the menacing dogs?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Over the Dog Control Act.
Seems
and realistically,
yeah.
I think that we're very lucky we only have such a low number, and that, because I know it's a major issue in major centres, and probably 80% of their menacing dogs are not even known that they're menacing dogs up there. I think this is a great report. It's heading in the right direction, and that fantastic that we've got 100% of known dogs registered for the 24-25 year.
The word being known.
Known, yeah, that's the known. we can only deal with the known and that sort of thing. So,
through you, Mr. Mayor, it does take quite a bit of effort to
Yes.
get all dog owners to register their dogs, all known dog
Yep.
owners. And that's a pretty amazing result, really, to get to that point in the year and know that you've got them all. So it's a really very good work by the animal control team.
please pass on to the team. Congratulations on all the hard work that they do. Any other questions for them? Sharon?
No, I was just going to say, well, not a question per se. The wandering dogs one is an interesting one because I see that numbers have dropped quite considerably, but you certainly wouldn't think so if you're online. So I'm wondering if that's a bit more with the fact that there are more and more people willing to put a dog on their own property and put up on social media, come find your dog, than call animal control, because I think those numbers are probably not reflective of the actual situation around town, rightly or wrongly, but I agree that I think Linda and the team do a very good job of chasing up anything that does get put to them. I think the team work really hard, but I think there's certainly plenty of wandering dogs around the Waimate district, let me put it that way.
I said it was right outside the police station the other night.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is possibly a bit of a fear that we impound all wandering dogs, which of course comes with a fee.
Yes.
But actually our first priority is to get the dog back to its home. It's much easier.
Yeah, and I have said that to a few, because there has been people trying to do the nice thing and the right, what they believe is the right thing, but there has been a number of older people who've been in touch because they can't find their dog and they're not on social media to know somebody's got it on their own property. So when the animal team can scan a chip or check their tag, they can return them to that older person. So it's a catch-22 for people. I understand that they think they're saving people from a pound charge or a what have you, but it can flip the other way and have people stressed and worried, not knowing where their dog is.
And again, it could be just a quick update on Facebook just to advise people that,
That's how it
our number
works.
one priority is the safety of the dog, and that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a fine if your dog is impounded.
The only thing sometimes, like, there's a bit of frustration with some of the rural guys that, you ring up, I've got the dog number on his collar, just tell me who it is and I'll ring him. But Privacy Act now, you can't do it.
Yeah.
No.
Just,
Unfortunately, that's out of our hands.
yeah, I know.
And that is stupid, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that is the law, and we have to abide by it, as silly as it is.
You can't have her own bylaw there.
Sorry,
You can't have her own bylaw
you
there.
cannot breach the Privacy Act.
No, definitely.
And that,
You might.
Good try, but no.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, at the end of the day, we'll make that phone call anyway.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, laugh, so if you get hold of it.
Yeah, well, the only thing was I had one turn up and the guy was 2 minutes up the road, but I get it.
Yes, it happens a lot. It's quite common.
And then the only other comment I'd say is I've had some nice comments back about like the Waimate woofers or whatever, the little birds that are put out with little bits of information. So they have been well received.
yeah, they have. It's really good. Right, any other questions for Dylan? Read the Dog Control Act report. If there's not, I have a mover. Move Councillor Small, second Councillor Beck. Put the motion, all in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you for that. Moving on to agenda item 16.4, which is the Operative District Plan Minor Correction. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Got the dodgy
I didn't go toppling. That would have been a becoming start to the paper. So yes, good morning, everybody. Basically, this is what it says on the tin. We are making a minor correction to the boundaries of NZTA's state highway designation, which is basically the power that they use to undertake works within their designation without doing some standard planning processes. This has just been identified because they've got some upcoming works and we're coming up for pre-application advice. And basically, it's important to make sure that they line up, because otherwise it makes it a bit awkward when one bit of the plan says that the legal area of the state highways is designated and then our online maps show that it's a different area, because you wind up with questions about which is the correct area. I've reviewed the file and think that it was pretty clear that we intended the state highway designation to apply to the state highway, but we don't have delegation to sign these off, so this is just to seek that approval from you. I've included a photo of a couple of areas you can see.
Yeah.
I suspect that this is just because the maps were carried over a number of times through multiple computer systems. You can see it's quite out of line in some places, but it's still an error. We should still fix it.
I think the other thing too, Alex, I think it's been repairs to roads and they've shifted highways to, you know, for different reasons
And so there are a few that we can't do through this, you know, like I know for one of the things that's upcoming, you know, for a very long time, the state highway carriageway is actually run on the neighbour's property. You know, we can't do things like that through a minor correction because that affects people's, you know, land and their rights.
Yep.
But this is very much just to make sure that where it is the legal road, it is correct, so we have the right starting point for any application. And then should you approve, obviously then GA's person will prepare the updated maps, and then Dylan as our regulatory and compliance group manager will authorise those, and we have to do a swap and keep a recording.
Okay. Cool. Any questions?
No, I'll move recommendations 1, 2 and 3.
Seconded by Councillor Small. Put the motion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Easy as that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to 16.5, which is the appointment of the Civil Defence Emergency Management Local Controllers. Take the report as read. Question, I'm sure Dylan's able to answer any questions.
My only comment would be it would be nice to meet Mark.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice to obviously know the people we're working with or giving them. Obviously he has more than adequate experience for the role, but yeah, if he would be able to come and meet with us, that would be good, or after the election with the new team.
Yep.
Whenever. But good to have someone of that sort of knowledge base and experience willing to take on this type of role for us as council and community, so terrific.
Any question on it is, where does he live? He lives in Waimate. Lives in Waimate.
Yeah, it does say
That's
that.
good.
I just
2
saw
years
that.
ago.
Said it's turned into the Timaru area, so I just wondered. Okay,
I'm happy to move those.
1 and 2. I'm happy to second it. Put the motion, all in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Moving on to agenda item 16.6, which is the Waimate District Climate Resilience Strategy Review.
Yep, that just keeps on going.
So we'll take the report as read, and I'm sure Dylan's happy to answer any questions.
I just first up say I think it makes sense to separate the two parts out. One is almost information that people can choose to align with or not, or agree with or not. The action points, I think now that we've got it to a point of these are the ones that have been agreed amongst council community, that the members that did engage of the community, and others that are, we need to say what does this actually look like and come with a full report of, and then we decide if anything's doable or not. We need actuals and dollar figures and what have you, so I agree with the separation of the two.
If I could.
Yes, certainly.
I think the first part says nothing, basically. It's just a whole lot of it is propaganda, and there's a little bit of information in there that basically you could put on one page. My thoughts would be we get rid of the first bit. The second bit is completely unworkable, does nothing for our communities. Like I said at the start, it stifles growth. We've got to spend a whole lot more time and money going over something we've already spent a lot of time and money on. I would prefer that we scrap the whole thing and do what Huranui's done, which is put a few pages on their website with climate change information, referring people through to the one time, or now is the time, regional idea about climate change that I think is Canterbury, the ECAN has done. It's workable, it's easy, it's cheap, it won't spend us any more money. It will still be covering our climate change commitments that we have to talk about. We do not have to have a strategy. And I think us reviewing this and going through and spending more time on it is absolute waste of ratepayers' money for nothing. that's my thoughts, and that's my recommendation. Take it or leave it, but it just makes sense.
So you're talking about the Canterbury Climate Strategy.
It's called I left my thing at home, but it's called My Time or One Time. It is a climate strategy for Canterbury District.
Who's it produced by?
If you go, hang on, I'll tell you in a minute. I'll go to Huronui and I'll find it. But when
The only comment I've got is relating to Canterbury wide, is we are quite different to the rest of Canterbury. If you look at the NIWA data, I think there's more positives than negatives for us. So the likes of North Canterbury's likely to get drier, we're not. So I just think we should.
But all of that's modelling, and so no, I don't even think any of that, half of that stuff is relevant. So what I'm saying is that is there. If people want to go and read that and look at that stuff, they can, but it doesn't have to be anything that we are. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're saying, we can't actually say is true because a lot of it's just modelling. So why are we putting stuff on there that we can't actually?
No, as part of the strategy, so for the new council, I think we should be looking at our specific data.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm saying, like, if you separate those out, the first parts, whatever you want to do with it, to be honest, I don't really care. That sounds awful, but I don't, because people have their views one way or the other, and I don't want to change their views or sway their views. But the actual action points, there were some we may disagree with, but we also had community conversations and had community members suggest a lot of those things. So I think if you just turn around today and go, absolutely not with no further information, we're not allowing for a process to say why we're all of a sudden changing our mind.
I hear what you're saying.
And if I just finish, Lisa, I just think that information, whether it's in a short report form or whatever, comes back to a new incoming council. For us to make a decision right now in election time, I think is remiss. It will be seen as politicking. I think we leave it with the staff to come back to a new council to go, here's what was talked about, fresh set of eyes, you all look at it, decide what you'd want to do with it. Because at the moment, any big change like this will be actively seen as politicking, which it is. So to me, yeah.
Right, Lisa?
The web page it's called itstimecanterbury.co.nz. Now I'm not saying I agree with the stuff that's in there, but what it does is it gives people an opportunity to go and look at that and make up their own minds. If they wish to follow that information, they can.
So who was that put out by?
So this is on the Huronui District Council's page. They've got a thing called Environment where they have climate change, biodiversity and coastal conversations. And then you go to this one which looks like Canterbury, looks like ECAM actually stuff.
I think it's the Canterbury.
The Canterbury Climate Partnership.
Canterbury Climate Partnership
Yeah.
signed up to.
That's it. So it's like we're duplicating everything when we could just have something very simple on our web page which was relevant to us. And if you look at Huronui, you'll see what I mean. And then with the relevant information to us, Sandy, as you said, and then people can click on that if they want to do more, they can. A lot of the information that we have, like all of our plans, our roading plans, all of them, they've all got climate change mitigation through it. So we have shown that we are considering climate change in stuff that we're doing on an everyday basis. I just feel like we're just duplicating all this all over again. For what reason? Whose expense? All of the information action plans in here, yes, they've been proposed by members of the public, of the community who have engaged with us, but all of that information is information that we would be normally looking at on an everyday basis anyway, and everything else that we do. I don't see anything in there that's different, new, or that we shouldn't be doing anyway.
And I think that's why staff have put forward that their report needs to come back, because we've put like BAU or a $ sign or whatever, but what does it actually mean?
Exactly. So
and that's what I'm saying. A new council might decide, hey, you're actually covered and we don't want to, but I just don't think today we should be mucking around with it. Well, as such, other than asking the staff to report to the new council.
Well,
Mr. Mayor, can I? No, it's in front of us now. I think we should deal with it now. It's I'm just looking at page 57, carbon emissions by sector. It's putting all the heat on agriculture and forestry and other land use. I think those figures are completely wrong in my book. there's no hard evidence to say that the carbon emissions are that bad. So I think we should look at this document now and say, well, maybe we can take some of those things out. Maybe we can look at it differently. Just like,
And the difficulty is, Colin, is depending on which report you read gives you a different answer and that. So, you know, most of the climate strategies and that sort of thing and information will lay the blame on the primary sector to the greatest extent. So it depends on which report you read as to.
yes, it does.
This is the problem with the whole area of climate change. Is this everybody's an expert in the field, and no one can agree on any.
We all agree on climate change.
It's
agreeing how they're putting this information in front of us. And
that.
I think
I'm also
I don't think we do all agree on climate change.
Yes.
yes,
That's what I'm saying. So around the table
You know-
today,
we know the climate's changing. Yes, we do agree on climate change. I think everybody in this room. Can I ask that?
Yep.
Everybody in this room agrees climate's changing.
It has always changed.
It's
always
changing.
changed.
So
I'm
sorry.
just saying, members of our public,
No, we've got to say
you're
we agree on climate change.
Yeah.
And it's what information they're putting in front of us we don't agree on. So sorry, we've got to put that through to our ratepayers. We all agree on climate change.
And I guess that's the next phase when the incoming council talks about the actions and that sort of thing. And I agree with Sharon as far as that, you know, this has come from public input, and that although it was, yes, only a minor number of people there, but that's all we can go by with any of our documents. Is we ask for feedback, we ask for participation, and we work on the participation that we got. And that sort of thing. So the action points have come out of those meetings that most of us attended. And that. So I think we could go round and round in circles all day discussing about whether climate change is. I agree with Sandy that we should be focused on our district and the data within our district. And I believe that will come as part of the next phase, which is the new council will look at those action points.
Some of the data, sorry, Mr. Mayor, some of the data is pretty right in there. Some of the data is good.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to get wetter.
Yeah.
You know, and that, I agree with some of it, but there is pie in the sky. So
But the other thing too, as Sharon has stated, there's a lot of detail to come around the implications of some of these action points as well.
Yes.
And that sort of thing. So there's still a lot of work to do here. But no, I don't think we're gaining anything by relitigating the whole document today.
I didn't say you had to relitigate it today, I just said we don't need to pass it, we just need to just leave it and just do what is done on there, so there's no more time and money spent on it.
I think if we separate the two, though, it does make it simpler for the incoming council.
Agreed.
Okay, so there's
Through you, Mr. Chairman, could I just ask what this council's investment has been in trying to get it this far, so to this point? Do you have any idea, Dylan, at all?
Well, the obvious, I guess, is Andrew Oliver's position as the climate change officer.
Yeah.
It started in November or late October 2023, and we'll finish at the end of this month.
But,
So does
yeah,
that
like,
staff resource?
we've got ongoing paperwork here, and if we start looking at the strategy at what's going to be involved, I don't think it will be long before we start crawling up around 1% of our rates. Just looking at that, you know, I can see all sorts of implications happening with that.
I guess through you, Mr. Mayor, and just to reiterate what's in the report is that the entire document was adopted by council back in July. This is a proposal to pause or slow down work following the adoption of that strategy by separating the action plan and giving each line item some thought about what is required to get that over the line and whether the new council wants to get that line item over the line, when they might want to do it, or whether they want to do it at all. And that, sure, that'll involve some staff time, but it's not intended to be a rushed or overnight fix or an intensive investment of staff time.
Through you, Mr. Chair, like we did talk about this early, didn't we? My my pickup from this was that this council was not going to get bogged down by the massive influx of surrounding noise, while we can work on how we can deal with the on the ground problem of climate change in our district. And that to me seemed like a really sensible thing to do.
And that's basically exactly what this is proposing.
That's what
Yes.
we're trying to do.
This is what this is proposing, is that we separate the two out, that the new council will have the ability to look at the action points in here and make decisions as to, is it worthwhile? Should the money be spent? What's it gonna cost? What are the implications?
I think
What are the implications if we don't do anything as far as the likes of Audit New Zealand, that sort of thing?
I think politically this is a ball that's moving around a lot at the moment, and I think to start getting into a system. I'm sorry, I voted against this initially. I still think that it's wrong. I'm not a climate denier or anything stupid like that. I just think some of these things, get movement by telling a lie often enough. It starts to get believed. And I think we've got to be really careful. And this council wasn't very proactive in listening to the other side of the argument. Sorry, Craig, Mr. Bear. But I felt that we could have gone a long way further by actually showing that we weren't biased in any particular direction by listening to the other side of the argument. That being said, I still agree with the original thing that we ran with, and that's working on it by working with other councils on what they've already done by reducing costs at this end to make up a new policy or a new whatever it is going forward from here. There's lots of other stuff going on there, but
and that's exactly what we've done, Peter.
Yeah, well, look,
is that a lot of this has been sourced from other councils. It's not all brand new.
If we look at the billions of dollars that this country has spent in this arena, I'm not saying that applies to us directly here, but some of that does, because it has a downward effect on how it affects our people on the ground.
I think that we're not here today to litigate.
No.
As we said, this policy has been accepted and moved through council. This is around the separating the two off and that. So we're not here to relitigate whether it's right or wrong. What we're here to decide today is, do we want to separate it off and have the ability for the incoming council to look individually at all the action points of what the ramifications are, what the financial ramifications are, and what sort of work needs to be done, if any, as they choose to go through the different action points.
I'll move number 1 and 2. I think at the present time, again, in an election cycle, it is better to let the new incoming council go through those action points, not the whole other palaver.
Yep.
And sorry, Andrew, and decide yay, nay, otherwise. What is resilient? What we're actually doing that's already marked in documents, and if it is, it's already done through a document. That one can be crossed off. But I think they need to workshop that and get through it.
Hello, it's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. All in favour, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Against?
Yeah, I won't vote. Sorry.
1 against, 2 abstains. Motion has been passed. Thank you very much. QV 11 there. Oh, do you want your abstention? Yes.
Yeah, abstain.
Good mind. Sorry, QV 11:30.
Yes, 11:30.
Sorry to sound like a broken record.
No. You're more than entitled to your opinion, Peter.
I think the new
We
council
totally understand what you're saying, Peter.
Yep.
Like
will have a close look at it, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's time for us to change a whole lot of stuff around for a minute.
I think too, just an observation, particularly on methane accounting too, that it's just it's a minefield and it's moving all the time, and you've seen the government move in the way that methane's measured as well, so,
As I said, Sandy, this is the problem, is that depending on which report you read,
yeah, I know.
you get the answer that you want.
Yeah.
And this is the difficulty with all this stuff. And that.
Which is why if we just didn't have it in the first place, we'd just be neutral.
we need some type of direction moving forward.
I know, but it doesn't have to be full of propaganda, it can just be what we know is relevant to us.
I think so, Lisa, so you can minimise what we do and just put it to a side, not spend any money, or we can, particularly the new council, can have a look at it and be quite proactive and say, well, okay, we don't think it is affecting us, so therefore we don't have to do this. I think we're far better off taking a proactive approach.
But it would have been good if we could have done that 3 years ago. Well, we've been 3 years doing this climate change stuff.
Yeah,
And we've been saying that all the way along, and we're still down here with 50 pages of word salad when we could have had 3.
And some of those opportunities and the action points are opportunities to improve things. Not from a climate position, but from a resilience perspective. And yeah, so again, Ms. Mayor, can we go into public excluded and make a start on the minutes and stuff from that, because we've got 20 minutes.
Yeah, we can do it. I was sort of do that. Yep.
Otherwise, we're going to be sitting around for 20 minutes waiting or debating climate change for 20 minutes. Which the members of the public might like to get actively involved.
Yeah, the public excluded is very short, so yeah, we will do. We'll move into public excluded, and then we'll be back. We should be 11:30. We'll be back here for the QV presentation. If you'd like to come back. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Can I have somebody move into public excluded? Move Councillor Kane, second Councillor Stevens. Put the motion on. Favour say aye. Against. Carried. Yep. We need to pause. Stop the live stream. And we need. you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hey, good morning everyone. Yeah, I'm Brendan McCurley. I'm the Upper South Island Regional Manager of QV. We've got here Jeremy Clayton here as well, who's one of our revaluation specialists, and he was the lead guy for the Waimate revaluation this year. So you guys came here today to give you guys a quick rundown of how the revaluation works and what it actually meant for the values in Waimate this time around.
Thank you. Well, floor is yours.
So I might just cover the high level kind of stuff about how the real works, and Jeremy will chat about the actual.
I think you've got the dodgy chair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just don't rock back.
So yeah, with the revaluations, we're heavily legislated by the Rating Valuations Act 1998 and the Rating Valuation Rules 2008. Basically with that, we need to do the revaluation of every district in the country every 3 years. So Waimate was done this year. The values are audited by the Office of the Value General, who, we've had a pretty good working relationship with those guys over the last few years, but they have made things a bit trickier over the last few years for us as well, but we'll touch on it shortly.
Welcome to our world.
The key thing on the rating valuations is that they're a snapshot of the market at a single point in time. So for Waimate District, that was the 1st of June 2025, so the values are all based on what we interpret the market to be on that particular date. So if a market changes drastically in the next few months, the valuations can become out of date. But at the moment we are in quite a flat kind of market. Values aren't changing too much at the moment, so those values should hopefully remain reasonably accurate for a little while. The values don't include plant and shadows or trees, and we assess the freehold value of properties, not the leasehold interest. We also have to say that the community and the market set property values. QV just interprets those values and applies the values across the district. So the audit process, I think about 2020, the Office of Value General changed the way they audited all revaluations, and they brought in this traffic light system. And originally there was a green, an orange, and a red light. And in more recent years, they've added a bunch of other colours in the mix as well. Basically, the green light is what we're aiming for at audit. But basically means that we've done a really good job. Figures will go through in the normal time frame. A blue light would mean there's a moderate delay of up to a few weeks. The orange lights and the purple to reds are longer delays, which we obviously want to avoid. We don't want to be delaying council's rating and the objection process and things like that. So for Waimate this year, we got the green light again, same as last time round, so we're pretty happy with that. Basically, everything came through in time. Last year, QV has all the South Island revaluations, and every South Island revaluation was either a green light or a blue light, so we're starting to have a pretty good track record there. And Waimate is always kind of first up in the calendar year as well, so it was nice to start off this year with a green light. And so a process that we do, a lot of planning involved, including meetings with the council, the planning team, building team, people like that, who are all very helpful for us. There's a lot of cleansing of our data that we hold on the district valuation roll, a lot of cleansing of our sales information, gathering our secondary events as well, so talking to agents, talking to local valuers, and other property professionals, especially when we've got a kind of flatter market, there's less sales than there are in more booming times. So secondary evidence is very important to us. So helps form our basis of evaluations we're doing. Then our valuers are out there inspecting the properties, doing a detailed sales analysis, and from there we kind of set market adjustments of different property category types, so commercial, industrial, residential, rural. We'll be moving at different rates. Once we've adjusted all those values, then we have to verify them, so the values will be out in the field inspecting. Also using our online tool, so aerial mapping, all the data we can use to make sure that we've captured the values correctly. And from there we have our quality assurance process. So the quality assurance process was brought in really once this traffic light system started coming in with the Office of Value General. So That's been a really good thing for the quality of our data. Basically, we'll have a preliminary quality assurance peer review internally, and that team's made up a lot of very experienced registered valuers, some of whom they were formerly auditors in the Netherlands as well. So, and then following that, they will also do a peer review at the end before we send our values off to the auditors to check that. For that map, so QE's developed quite a pretty fancy mapping tool basically that Officer Value General was really keen for us to have as well. There's hundreds of different layers we can kind of put on, which helps the valuers interpret the data and make decisions, but also helps the auditors as well make sure that the values line up and make sense. So we can change colours and set colours based on percent movement changes, or like dollars per square metre on land values and things like that. So it's been a bit of a game changer for us, that having that there really means we can really nail those values and display them in a way that people can understand as well.
So is that available to the public online, that sort of mapping, or not?
This sort of mapping is not is available to council staff and the auditors as well. Yeah, I might pass you on to Jeremy, who'll go out there.
Yeah, so when we start off the values, we look at the high level stuff for a start. So you look at what's happening nationally, as well as then starting to break down into where we're at in the Waimate district. So the big strategic industries that you have got in Waimate is your rural. It's mainly in that with that dairy the dairy influencing that. You've also got a bit of the retail within your town, and also your power stations as well, being your major contributors to your rating values. Major changes which is happening throughout. You've seen your Stunning factory is expanding there. You've got the farm source building being developed. You've also got the local iwi redeveloping on the main street. So it's all positive stuff. For a very small district, you've got quite a lot going on, and very positive in that sense, compared to other small districts of the likes throughout the country. So that then does lead on to your residential. So overall, your town, your Waimate town, hasn't moved a lot. It's moved only, I think it's 3-4% in the capital value. However, your rural townships have seen the greatest increase. However, that shows a 30% increase for like St Andrews for its land value, but that's only getting up to 135 average now. So we've seen that throughout the country, that these smaller townships, that there is now a minimum of about 100,000 has been spent for a section anywhere throughout. So you're not seeing that low value sections as much anymore, mainly because you'll see someone from out of town usually be able to happy enough to buy a place, plonk a caravan, or they're happy to do it sight unseen for a risk of 100 and under 100,000. So that's where you're seeing that increase in them rural townships. There's only 360 residential in that area, so it does look like it's on percentage wise, it looks like a massive jump. However, on value levels, it's not that big. So you're looking between 125 to 140 section in them small townships.
Sorry, I just had a question. Is that some of that would relate to supplies though? Because in some of these small towns there may be not a lot of sections left. Is that?
Yeah, and that does control that as well in that sense. So the likes of Makikahi, there's only a few sections left in where that residential is, but that is the driver of, so therefore supply demand, it does make that sense of the values there increase for that as well. So that is another factor of that. coming through. So as well as what we're seeing is your poorer quality housing is definitely struggling. So it's not, especially with healthy homes. So where we before we saw an older house being built, being brought for rental, it is now more that older, that doesn't meet healthy homes, has only got a market for owner occupier. You know, unless someone has got a lot of capital to actually come in and actually do that work to get it up to standard. So that's what we're seeing is, so they are definitely holding it back, where your good houses are typically selling for a bit more than the average, especially through Waimate. So this here is a graph of on the average of your house index. So it's the line in there that you can faintly see is from your last reval. So from your last reval to now, there hasn't been a major growth. It can vary, especially in the smaller TAs. It can bounce around like that because it's on the number of sales. So 1 month you might get a few real good sales of good quality properties that kind of look like your average is going up, but it's over the whole course of all your properties in that sense. So, and then going on to what we call the business, which is your commercial industrial, is very much led from your 2 dairy factories. That's where the majority of the value is in there. You also are very lucky that you've got the local iwi and the likes of Rooney, who have invested in the town and is actually doing a lot of work in that sense of either updating or bringing on new stock, and as well as having the new farm source building coming in as well, bringing in some newer stock from that sense. There is no really notable changes though in your rental levels as such, in the sense that you aren't captured. There is no really new national client coming into the town. It's usually locals who are moving around from tenancy to tenancy in there. For the rural, it is mainly led through from a stronger dairy. If this was 12 months ago, it would have been looking a lot gloomier in that sense, and most probably looking in 12 months' time would be even more positive going through as the market is actually changing there. There is that strong influence of your lifestyle around the Waimate Township. Anything that has is of a good standard or has maybe a slight view or anything like that is definitely seeing a positive increase, and it's very much similar to your residential, where poor properties are definitely struggling in there to go. So then going on, so this is your overall, so we've broken it down. These are your movement. So overall, there's a slight increase of 1.8% on your capital value, with a slight deduction on your land. Going from there, so the major, so your biggest increase with there being the industrial, that is coming mainly from your 2 dairy companies there. And then the major decrease for the utilities is to do with the irrigation scheme, and being the value has changed during a different template of how they have actually had to value them. So that's actually gone from a 6 million land value to a 3 million land value on that MGI irrigations. So that's where you can see that's your biggest drop. So it's not your utilities as such as going from your energy and stuff like that. It's just that there is solely from that MGI, the percentage in that there. And then we break it down. There's a bit of a table that shows just a different way of showing it. Yeah, so you're really positive on that urban side, and your rural side is, even though it is coming back, it is starting to become a lot more positive. 12 months ago, you could have seen double that drop at least in that side. And then we break your sector down into your the value by capital value. So you've got about 60% of your value is in your rural and your dairy, pastoral and arable there. You've got about 15% of it being in residential and 9% being in lifestyle, where the other makeup is throughout everything else. So you're still very heavily valued as your rural side, and that's exactly the same as in your land. Your land's actually more, you're actually about a 75% in your rural side compared to on the urban, residential is only 11%.
Just a question then, Jeremy, with the specialist, what is that?
Specialist, so that can be as a specialist, so it can be poultry, it can be pigs, that's your specialist in that, so it's from there.
So it also includes deer farms.
Yeah, deer farms, yeah, so it's all, it's a slightly different, anything that's doesn't really hit your dairy or your pastoral, kind of flows into that side of things. And then, but then if you go to your property mix on your numbers wise, you can see there you've got 50% as being residential. So that there, you know, your 2,260 residential properties, compared to your 144 dairy properties. So even though, you know, you've got 50% in the numbers in residential, it's still only bringing that small amount of value to there. And that's what,
yeah. So yeah, the objection process is also what follows. So once people get their values in the mail or they've seen them online, they do have the rights to object to those values if they don't agree. If they think it's too high, too low, whatever the reason may be. We recommend in the first instance that people call the call centre and discussion, or they can lodge a objection online. Is the best way to do it. Otherwise, they will have forms here at the council to lodge as well. They need to do it if they don't have got internet.
Do you get many?
We get, it varies by different regions, but we get about 1%.
Oh, okay.
Is what we kind of expect for most revaluations. So we're not expecting a whole lot for Waimate, but you just never know. Just depends. You can do a really great job and get lots of objections. You can just do a bad job and get none. It depends on.
Depend on the CV value too. Like a bigger increase would lead to more objections, does it, or not?
It depends. You'd kind of expect people would want it down because obviously your rates are based on partially on your capital value. But typically we see it more than often not people want the values up. I think people always say typically about 2/3 want it up, 1/3 want it down. The last cycle we had 3 years ago throughout the country, it kind of flipped because we had really large increases, like 50% kind of increases to capital values, and the cost of living crisis talk was starting to come about a lot more then. So that's when we saw more people wanting values down. But this time we'll have to just wait and see. But because the market's been reasonably flat, it has been crazy value changes. I wouldn't expect a whole lot, but we'll just wait and see. Yeah, we're happy to the process and addresses that come through. So the window for that closes on the 17th of October, and from then we'll start working through those objections, probably from late October onwards, and resolve them. So yeah, key dates again. So our effective date of evaluation is at 1st of June 2025. So that's the date that evaluations are based on the market as at that date. The notice will be posted out on the 10th of September, and we understand some people already received theirs in Waimate. Yeah, and that objection period closes on the 17th of October. And these new dates will be used for your rating base from the 1st of July 2026.
Do you put any media out other than the valuation that we receive around the process?
Sorry?
Do you put any sort of other media out around the process, these particular key dates and the process around objections other than what we get in the mail?
We've done a media release with your council.
Oh, cool.
So we did a write up and then pass it on, and that goes out It's on our website, and I'm pretty sure you're putting it on their website as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
So
good.
we've done all that, we've gone through that, so that definitely states, it gives a bit of an overview, kind of similar to today. We just give you a bit of a variation of, you know, what we've seen in the market and what we've done.
Yeah.
So, from that gets sent out as well. A lot of the stuff on your notice will link you back to our website, which does have questions on there, like FAQs and stuff like that, so that anything like that can help you out from the start as well.
Yeah, there's quite a good YouTube video that explains the process quite well as well. It's a really simple explanation.
I guess the only other question I've got is it pretty average for a district similar to ours, what you're seeing, or are we excelling, or are we going
you guys
backwards?
seem to perform reasonably well, because I usually do a lot of the other small TAs throughout, so I do a lot of the West Coast as well, and do see you guys perform above. In that sense, you've got lucky enough to have the likes of the iwi and Rooney and your commercial side doing stuff in your township, where a lot of times you'll see the likes of Greymouth. It's you know, if you've been, it's quite can be quite stagnant, and the buildings haven't been well looked after and stuff like that. So that's a benefit to your side of things. As well, if you've been heavily rural, it definitely backs on the flavour of the time of how the rural is going. So if rural's going well, you guys seem to always be going there. But as you did see from that graph, you're very much, a lot of the small towns in the South Island, we never saw the spike that everyone talked about, like the Auckland and the Wellingtons, and so therefore you don't see the big dip either. So, we had quite a big movement last time compared to this time, but you haven't seen the drop back from that. So usually see steady as it goes, and usually
steadier
from there. So
and that's what we see throughout Canterbury really as well. It's really steady when up north we're talking, North Island talking about values dropping quite a bit. So things are pretty positive down here. So
I think that larger increase last time was a lot of our lower value stock coming up to probably more where it would be. It wasn't it was seen as steep, but it wasn't really in comparison to.
And as well, you did, and if you're talking about the land definitely increased in the township last time, but that was as well. The second subdivision and stuff hadn't happened yet, so it was kind of exactly what you said. The supply and demand was kind of leaning, so that's why there's been a real rollover with some areas dropping and some areas increasing. But just because the supply now is here with your land, you most really won't see a movement for a while in that land value looking forward. So.
Well, thanks for that. It's very interesting.
And as well, I would like to thank your team as well. So Tina and their team and the planning and everyone who spoke to the rating team has definitely helped us, and it definitely showed in when we get the green that we've been working together. So it's just an appreciation to them as well for doing a good job on that end of things.
Yeah, they're really good. I think the in general really expects that these days. We have a valuation service provider, but the Waimate, your values that you're using to base the race on, so we really expect a bit more involvement from the councils. We can't stop these guys in.
No, so.
Well, I'm sure we all want to make the process as painless and smooth as possible. So, thank you very much for the presentation. And does anybody else got any questions they want to ask?
I just wonder, is it always June that you do the
No,
valuations?
so the value, it has moved 1 month forward. It's usually 1st of July.
Right.
It was moved for this year as mainly because it's quite a large year for the OBG. So they moved you slightly forward, and if we would have gone the same day as 1st of July, when we were at audits, values, sales would have still been coming through. So therefore that's mostly what's pushed it to the 1st of June. They used to as well do 2 audits every week, so would be finished by December. However, they've gone now to only 1 TA per week, so therefore now we're going out until February. I think is our last valuation provider that we actually do. So that's the reason why it's kind of shifted that goalpost to the 1st of June, but that is literally just the date that they choose to say that that's where your valuation is. Yeah, so I think we moved about 3 months to a month ahead of schedule from last time. And the reason that's why we've pushed your asset date a month earlier, just so that we can get all the evidence in before making that decision, because it's usually a month or two after to get some of the key sales that have come through at that time. So
Thank you.
Yeah, it works in favour a little bit. It's been nice and early as well. Like if there was a dramatic thing, we've got a red light in that system and a big delay, we've still be time to fix things before rates strike from 1st of July next year. A lot of other councils who are running later, if there was a delay, it can really impact the objections that completed.
I think that was where there was a bit of misunderstanding publicly. They thought they were getting the valuations after the rates were set for this year. They thought they were impacting, and I went, no, they're not, but they influence next time's.
yes,
We just need to
yeah,
articulate
I
that
think
a bit clearer.
we've put that in the sort of the media release. That's the last bit of
And that's
key
something,
dates.
something we can follow up on.
Yeah, just a easy blurb that says these.
You don't wait until next year.
These are values that will affect your next year's rate.
Yeah, your ones
Next time.
currently is fine. So.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Well, thanks, team.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks for coming down. Cheers. Thanks, guys. Righto, so I'm happy to move the recommendation on page 106 that we received the presentation. Second, Councillor Stevens, put the motion, all in favour, say aye. Aye. Against, carried. So that's it for the open council business. We need to go back and exclude, finish off an item.
Right,
So
go
that-
back in.
Thank you, Sharon. Second.